All right, so it's another beautiful Wednesday, and we are all here, loved up on Love Bay Afrobeat Talk Music Radio, where we enclose ourselves in the millennials world. It's a Voices of the Millennials show, and we are right here coming to you with another mega exciting episode, as we always do. My name is Annamaria Amissah, your regular host. Kemi, how are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you. How are you, Anna
Excellent.
Maria?
I'm fine. Um, I'm excited because I know that there's something trending in the world of the millennials, and you're bringing us all the trends that we need to know, right?
Yes, definitely. And I have a lot of trending stories to talk about today. And yes, I can't wait to unpack them for
All
our
right. Then take us away. We are ready
great.
for you.
Hello, everyone. Welcome again to Millennial Trends, a news bulletin segment where we dive into everything that is hot, happening, and important to our community and the global community, of course, right here on the Voices of Millennials show. I am your host, Kemi Famous. So let's get into today's top stories from the past week. Trust me, you would want to stick around for this. So, first, let us talk about workplace discrimination. A new survey has found that 81% of Black Canadians are still facing workplace discrimination. Yes, you heard that right. 81% are still facing workplace discrimination. Despite the progress that has been made in inclusivity, many Black workers are feeling marginalized in their own workplaces. People are calling for policies that don't just look good on paper, but actually shift the work culture towards true equity. We're definitely going to keep an eye on how this issues unfolds. And again, we would feed you back as soon as possible. So let us know if you are also facing the same issues, or about a story of someone who's facing workplace discrimination, or some workplace that has actually gone past this discriminations. Let us know in the comment section. We'll love to hear from you. Canada extends the United Nations decade for people of African descent to 2028. Now, moving on to some better news, Canada's commitment to Black communities is growing stronger, and we love it. The government has extended its participation in the United Nations decade for people of African descent until 2028. That means an additional $860 million is being put towards Black-led initiatives, racial justice projects, and empowering our communities, right from entrepreneurship to tracking system barriers. This is a huge deal for, on a long term for everyone in the Black community. And we're here for it long term. And we're really happy that the government is doing this for us. So let us know what you think about this. Do you think this is sustainable to, empower the Black community? Major funding. Speaking of supports, how about this over $10.8 billion which has been allocated for 244 new Black-led projects under the Supporting Black Canadian Communities Initiative, which is the SBCCI. So when you think or you hear SBCCI, just know that the full acronyms or the full meaning of that acronym is Supporting Black Canadian Communities Initiative. And these people have allocated another $10.8 million for 244 new Black-led projects. This means more resources, more community projects, and more action on the ground. And we're here for all of that. So if you've got an initiative that is, fighting for change, that is there to help out people, that is there to support the community, you might want to find out about the SBCCI. Funding like this can actually empower grassroots organizations to keep pushing for justice and equality. So let us know, would you be applying for this? Or do you know people who are applying to be a part of the SBCCI? If you have a new project, if you have a new initiative, let us know what it is. If you need any support of any kind, feel free to add that in the comment section rather. Now let's talk business for a sec. The annual International Black Business Expo is going down in Montreal this year. It's one of the biggest events focused on Black entrepreneurship, and it's the perfect space for networking, learning, and let's be real, getting inspired. I mean, you're not just learning alone, or you're also getting inspired in the real world. So whether you're a seasoned entrepreneur or just starting out, this expo is where the magic happens. So if you're in Montreal or anywhere in Canada at all, or even anywhere in the world, and you can make your way to Montreal, ensure you don't miss out on this. On the legal side of things, a federal committee is pushing for some real justice reform to tackle the overrepresentation of Black Canadians in prison. What is their goal, you may ask? It is to reduce Black incarceration by 30% in the next decade. Some of the recommendations include creating Black-specific courts and addressing racial biases in policies. This is a step in the right direction, if you ask, and we will be watching closely to see how this reforms takes shape. So what do you think about this new reform? Should there actually be more policies, more Black-specific policies in courts? What are your comments? What are your suggestions? What are your opinions? Kindly share that with us on all our social media pages. We would love to hear from you. Healthcare is always a hot topic for Black Canadians and generally, the Black community. There are still major gaps, unfortunately. The Black Health Professionals Network is stepping up to address these inequities, pushing for better access to services and policies that reflect the realities of Black patients. It's all about making sure our communities get the care and attention that they deserve. We're giving a big shout out to everyone working on this simple but impactful project. Thank you so much for putting the patients at the forefront of healthcare delivery. Thank you. Now let's give some flowers to those who deserve it. Canada just honored its top 25 Black and Caribbean immigrants of 2024. These folks are making waves in fields like renewable energy, education, healthcare, and even music. It is proof that our communities are out here contributing to every part of the society. Right here on Voices of Millennial, we say congratulations to all the honorees and keep shining, keep the good work up. We hope to celebrate more and more people next year and the coming year. Next up on the news bulletin today is policies. New policies and accountabilities frameworks are being introduced to tackle systemic racism in Canada's law enforcement. This comes after years of calling for reform and changes by a lot of actors, state actors. It's still early days, but this can be a big step forward in building trust between police and the Black communities. What are your thoughts? What are your opinions? What do you think about this? Kindly do share your thoughts in the comment section. And if you thought the funding of the new age, I take that again. If you thought the funding news was over, think again. It's not yet over. There's another major one. The federal government is throwing an extra $25 million into Black-led community services for 2024. Good news. Now, this investment will extend programs that have been crucial for promoting inclusion and empowering the next generation of Black Canadians. This is good news for the Black communities in Canada and worldwide. And finally, That $860 million investment I mentioned earlier, it's part of Canada's long-term plan to support Black entrepreneurship, justice, and economic dignity. It's all about uplifting the community and making sure that we are breaking down barriers and creating opportunities for the future. We love to see it and we love hearing good news like this. This is all I have for you on Millennial Trends right here on Voices of Millennial. There you have it. We have already discussed all everything that is hot and trending in Black Canada and beyond. From workplace discrimination to government rules, we've covered everything all. As always, stay informed, stay engaged, most importantly, stay loud. Stay your community first. Remember, we are all about amplifying the voices of the millennial right here on Voices of Millennial. I remain committed to your host for Millennial First, handing over to Annamaria Amissah to continue the rest of the show. Thank
Okay, Kemi, thank you so much for the news bulletin. And I believe that we have informed our listeners as to what is happening in the world of the millennials.
Most definitely. And we shared a lot of good news today, a lot of funding by the governments and the good things that the governments are doing to support our communities and, the people.
Excellent information. Thank you, Kemi,
Thank
for
you.
that. And so today on the show, we are going to be discussing finding the career choice. That is going to be our topic for today. We are going to find out what we need to consider when we are making a career choice. And Michelle will be joining me on the show to discuss, share her experience, and we'll be able to know what we need to do by the end of this session. So we will take a quick break and we will be right back.
Get ready to turn up your Wednesdays. Join us on Love Bay Afrobeat Music Radio for the Voices of the Millennial Show, your ultimate midweek fix of inspiration and excitement.
With me, your regular host, Annamaria Amissah.
Every Wednesday at 7 p.m., we dive deep into the minds of today's game changers and trendsetters.
So turn up the radio.
And guess what? We've remodeled the show just for you. Introducing our brand new Millennial Trends News Bulletin. Stay ahead of the curve with the latest buzz in tech, fashion, music, culture, you name it, all packed in one electrifying segment with KEMIFAMOUS. Don't miss out. Tune in every Wednesday at 7 p.m. on Love Bay Afrobeat Music Radio. Hear the voices that are shaping our world one trend at a time. It's more than just a show. It's your connection to the millennial heartbeat. Only on Love Bay Afrobeat Music Radio.
You only live once in a lifetime. Try and have a nice time. Go lo 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 lo. Go lo go lo go lo lo. Go lo 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 lo. You only live once in a lifetime. Try and have a nice time. Go lo.
Okay, so we are ready. We are ready to explore our topic for tonight. I welcome Michelle on the platform. Michelle, are you here?
Yes, here I am.
Welcome and have a good
Thank you.
evening. I hope you've had a good evening.
I did. It's been a long day, but I'm happy to be here.
Okay, so listeners, Michelle Cobblah has joined us in the conversation on finding a career choice. You'll be seeing more of Michelle from now on because we have a lot of topics to be discussing right here on the Voices of the Millennials show. So tonight, finding a career choice. The comes you get to an age where you think that you need to start thinking about what you want to do with your life. You need to start thinking about what kind of job you would want to pursue, especially when you're in high school and you need to pass in terms of getting a career for yourself. Michelle, did you ever when you got to that stage, what was it like for you?
That's interesting. I think for me it was a bit, I would say, different, but I think it was it's a similar experience shared with many other international students who leave home or leave their country in search for, I guess, somewhat greener pastures. Um, I think the question hit me um, when I was leaving home. Immediately, it wasn't like, oh, I got to finish school and then I started thinking about that. For me, that question was very relevant while even selecting a course for going to university. Um, and I think that's an experience that's for at least most people who have to leave home in search of somewhat, like I say, greener pastures. But definitely, I think there'll be a lot revealed as we go on, because thinking it and actually living it are two different things, which I have come to
Right,
learn
right.
to give myself grace for it. So yeah, I think for me, I started thinking about it getting into university.
Okay. For me, I think I started thinking about it when I was in secondary school, when I was in high school.
Mm, wow.
I found what I wanted, what my comfort zone was
Mm,
when I was in secondary school. I realized that I loved to read.
mhm.
So I was always the one that would read when the teacher was in the class, and we had to read a passage or a paragraph in literature class or
Yeah.
CRS class or something like that. I would always be the one that is reading. And I think one time I remember quite vividly that I was home watching the news, and there was this
Yeah.
lady that was reading the news, and I was like, okay, this is it. This is
Mm,
where the reading is leading me to. I want to read the news.
wow.
I
Wow.
want to be a journalist. I want to read the news. So that led me to go to study in the arts, and then did
Yeah.
journalism in the end. And I was so certain that this is what I wanted to do. So I think God
Wow.
actually held me a lot,
That's a good
because
thing.
after university, I landed a job in a TV station,
Wow.
and I was a news anchor.
Wow.
So I
That's
feel
really good.
fulfilled because exactly what I wanted to do is what I did.
Yeah.
I read the news, and I was learning on the job, because I realized that it was not just about reading the news. Becoming a journalist is not
Mm,
just about reading the news. So my mind was
yeah.
that I was just going to read the news, but then being a
Going to read
journalist
the
is not just
news.
about that. You had to do
True.
reporting. There were other things that you needed to do. And so
Yeah.
I had to adjust to that. But then I think I was able to find out what where my interest was, and that was it.
Yeah.
That is how I ran with it. But of course, when I grew up, I wanted to change certain things. After feeling fulfilled, I wanted to explore other areas. So
Yeah.
that was my story. That was it for me at that time. But you know
Yeah.
that it's important when making these choices that you identify your strengths and weaknesses. The
True.
skills and your interest. Do you think that that is one of the things that needs to be quickly identified when you are thinking about a career choice?
I think yes, it is important to find your passions and to explore them. And if you get lucky, and um, you figure out you're in a field where your passions match, definitely go for it. I think it's a number of people sometimes don't know what they are good at, or sometimes are good at everything. To be honest, I think for me that was a problem for me, because I figured out that anything I put my mind to, pretty much, I'm able to. to, pick it up and just move with it. Which is why that conversation had to start going into college, because it's now like, which subjects do I choose with my passions? Because I like the arts, I like the sciences, I like math. Like I don't like, I think there's everything I kind of just liked. And I had done a lot of, like, I had the privilege of joining a lot of extracurricular activities. And so I think naturally I had a very holistic, like, growing up. And so for me, I had the problem of, oh, I'm pretty good at everything, so where do I segment my career into? But I think understanding that career is not just one thing, and eventually your path is shaped by the different experiences, including your passions, and including the responsibilities that you have to fulfill. um, Eventually you kind of coin into a certain direction. Because once I was like in school, I started business and society, which was a course that kind of had to combine people and profits. And then I realized that, you know what, maybe just that's just not it. I was like, okay, maybe let's do economics for. So I switched into economics, and I started doing economics. I was like, yeah, maybe not, because I don't feel like economics fulfills everything for me. And so I combined it with a major of international development studies, because then I felt like, okay, I'm getting somewhere. And then I was like, okay, yeah, but I also feel like maybe not enough. So I added French as a certificate. But I was that student because, like I said, a lot of things are of interest to me. So, but I know for sure, with at least watching my younger sister, she's been in science her whole life. It's been, I want to be a doctor, I want to be a doctor, I want to be a doctor. And she's just followed her passions and gone through for it. So I think it can be a thing of, you can have many passions, you can have one passion, or you may not have any passion at all. And if for you it's just like, okay, where do I start from, kind of thing. But definitely, I think it's one thing to consider which of the categories that you're in, and then that kind of gives you like a head start on like where to kind of start from. Hearing what you said, I was like, whoa, I wish I
Yeah.
had that moment where I saw somebody and was like, whoa, this is what I want to do. But I don't think growing up I ever really like saw somebody and be like, oh my god, this is what I want to be in, or like, this particularly. I think I had that feeling. I had a pretty mutual feeling towards almost everything. How about you though? How did you? How
But
did
I think
you?
that so what you were going through was basically the self assessment. It
Yes,
was
yes,
basically the self assessment because you were doing a bit
yeah,
of everything, trying a bit of everything, right?
yeah, yeah. I think it's pretty much
So
self-assessment.
definitely, we all agree that there's definitely going to the self assessment well to finally settle on
Yeah,
whatever it is that they would want to coin or bend over to do. And it definitely has to be something that you enjoy, because I don't ever see anybody choosing a career that they do not enjoy. Even if
yeah.
you are going to be doing it for a short while, it still has to be something that you enjoy, right?
True, but sometimes the career chooses you too. I think the reverse is a possibility.
So tell me, give me an example of that.
Because, like I said, you're for you. So you're in a stage where you graduate, for example, maybe in school, you I don't know, maybe you didn't particularly find something, or maybe you thought you found something. You get into the job market, you're looking, you just don't find that thing. For example, for me, a lot of the policy jobs that I wanted were like, oh, you need to do your masters before you can get this role. And so I just got, like, I think one of these recruiters reached out to me, and then it was an immigration firm, something that I'd never really thought about pursuing. So eventually immigration picked me and chose me, and I've been in it for 2.5 years, and I absolutely love it. So I think sometimes
So you
just
enjoy
it's
it.
not. I do, but I never thought I
You
would.
enjoy it, right?
Yeah, but I never thought I
You
would.
would.
Yeah, like if you ever asked me, I would have been like, immigration, okay, like I don't know, but yeah, I know that I have to, like, do this because, like, I'm immigrating to another country. This is important, but it was never like, oh my god, like this is what I will be doing for 2.5 years. Like, but I think when you get to a
Mm.
certain stage and it's not really, you don't really have the luxury of, I guess, of choice because bills gotta be paid. I think at some point you pick whatever chooses you, and then you do it till you realize that okay, maybe it's time to move on to something else. And that's why if somebody doesn't have a passion or hasn't identified their passion yet, it's not the end of the world for them, because sometimes you, by doing the things that you didn't know that you would um, find interesting, you realize that okay, maybe I tried this thing and that's why I know that this is not my field, or maybe I tried this thing but this is why I know that this is my field. So I think it can be a passion thing, but at the same
Mm-hmm.
time sometimes life just pushes you in a place where you don't even know, but you eventually realize that okay, maybe this is what I can keep going with.
Mm. If
Yeah.
you're listening to us, you can drop us some comments in the session so that we can, discuss what you also think along the line. I mean, this is an interesting conversation we are having here. So let's move on to passion versus
Yeah.
practicality. So you were talking about at a point in time you need to know that the bills need to be paid, so
Yeah,
you've got to do what you need to do. Now,
definitely.
is it do you think that, it's important to pursue passion or consider the job market and what is in demand, and the earning potential?
I think
For
I
me,
think
I think
mhm,
that for me, I think that the money is important,
yeah,
obviously,
yeah,
considering, the earning potential is important. But a place where you have to spend like your whole day, every day of the
yeah,
week, and it's not
yeah.
something that you really enjoy, I don't know. I haven't been in that situation before.
Big.
So I
Yeah.
feel like I would want to hear people who have been in that situation before, because I don't see myself not, it's like spending my entire time, my entire day somewhere that I don't enjoy. Like it's going to be a very difficult situation, even though the money is good and everything. Or maybe I will enjoy the money
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe you would.
because
And I think for most people too, that's the situation. Because when you
like
realize at
love
some point that
grows.
you know what, yes, yeah, at some point you eventually you learn to love it. Like you find a reason to love it. I think that's something that I've come to learn. Um because at some point you realize that you know what, this particular thing is not paying the bills. And you can't keep looking at responsibility and the scope of your responsibility or the scope of your dreams. Um I had a conversation with my friend. This actually is interesting that we're having this conversation because just on Sunday, I was having a conversation with one of my friends about how do we think that we landed in the wrong career? And why was this question coming up? Because we saw the rankings in salaries for different careers, and we're like, maybe tech is our thing. Why didn't we think of tech? Or why didn't we think of construction? Why didn't we think about like all these high earning pay, like things? And at some point my friend was like, you know what, she knows a lot of people that this wasn't necessarily their passion, but having realized that this is the direction in which the world is going into, and this is what is going to pay their bills, or this was going to make them that millionaire by 30, or this is what is going to make them debt free, or this is what is going to give them, I guess, some sort of um, let me say flexibility to take care of their children, for example. They figured that this is what I'm going to go into. Let me give you a really good example: remote jobs. A lot of people in hospitality, the job is such that you can't really work from home. At least, like most jobs in hospitality, you need to be on the ground. But you realize
Yeah.
that it doesn't give you as a person, a young person who's probably maybe understanding parenting and wants to spend more time with your kids, for example, even after maternity leave or paternity leave, this kind of field is not availing you that. And so you realize that okay, I need to go back into the job market. And that's why the practicality of things come, that's where the practicality of things come in, because at some point passions don't cut it. with the way you are as a person. And practicality, even I think money is usually a very popular example when it comes to practicality versus passions. But one thing to think about, for example, is even relationships, especially in this time post COVID. I think is one of the things that people have really reflected on, like practicality in terms of how do I build those relationships with my family? How do I, and things, considering things like remote jobs. Um, Another example of practicality, I think, is even like I won't say, like, I guess proximity in terms of, or even exposure for yourself and your children. I want my children to be able to travel in the early stages. So I think there are things that we need to consider beyond passions, especially in, as let me even say, as Torontonians, because this city is not easy to live in. But definitely, I think, back to your point, it's important to consider passions, because at the end of the day, if you're doing this thing at least 8 hours a day, you're spending your time on it. Eventually you're gonna be questioning your life. Like, what's my life about? I see all this money, I see all this, whatever, like resources. I see my portfolio and it looks great, but I feel very empty within. I feel very unfulfilled, like you were saying. And so I think that it's really important to weigh both practicality and passions, um, considering yourself and your dreams and what you define success as in your career.
So what about trying to balance the two? So I get like a job that is paying the bills, and then I do my passion on the side. Is it is
Yeah.
it is it feasible? Is it a feasible thing to do?
Oh, I'm a testimony that that's feasible. I think I like
Okay.
immigration, but it doesn't fulfill me enough. And so that's why I started Monica Creations,
Mm,
which is like my decor business, because it brings out the creativity in me. Immigration is
okay.
very monotonous. There's not much. It's not really exciting, to be honest. But it is good work, and it's fulfilling work, because you see how much support that you give to people. Um, but at the end of the day, I know that there's a side to me that wants to create something new, that wants to explore something else, that wants to dream beyond just, every day the same thing every day, the same thing every day. And so, fine, you have something that pays the bills and you somewhat like, but then you're also still able to pursue what you want to do, that fulfills you and fulfills, like, I guess, everything that uh I guess you need to feel as a wholesome being. How about you? Because I know you, it was straight for you. Okay, this is what I
So
want to do.
how,
But do you feel
yes,
like this?
yes.
Do you
But
feel like you
but I
want to
was
do
going to
more?
ask you something. I was going to ask you
Yeah.
something before you ask me. I was going to
Okay.
ask
You
you,
ask me.
at what point did you find your passion in Minika? At what point did you point that out as your passion?
True. I think my friend pointed it out to me, actually. It wasn't, I didn't even realize it. I've
Okay.
been planning since I could remember, whether it's like a church, whether it's in family, whether it's like, I think I've always been the planner, decorator. Everybody's asking, "Oh, Michelle, what do you think about this? Like, which colors, which this?" So I've always been that person, but I never really thought it as a, I guess, like, as a to venture into business with it. For example, super grateful to that friend for doing that, because I'm like, whoa, not every day, at least, like, I'm designing something, and it's fetching money for me as well. So I think definitely, my friend was definitely a big part of it. And having, like, said that and looking back, I'm like, wow, this is something that I've really always been doing. And so definitely happy to do it. So yes,
Mm.
back to
Okay, now
you.
to what you yeah, what were you asking me?
Yeah, so I was asking, I know that you've always wanted to be in, like, the, I guess, journalism space, or something that I guess gives you that opportunity to, I guess, communicate audience of somewhat. Do you feel like beyond that, like you would, I won't say midlife crisis, but you just get to a point in like midlife and be like, maybe I need a total switch. I'm gonna do some like nursing or something.
Okay, so yes, it got to that point because in the part of the country where I'm coming
Yeah,
from, one.
yeah,
However, it fulfilled me. So at a point in time in my journalism life, especially because I feel like, especially because I felt fulfilled. I felt like what I wanted to do, I have done it. I have sat on that seat, had the cameras on me, read the news. So I've gotten there. I've gotten that whatever I wanted
yeah.
from there. So I felt like, okay, so now what I want to do is I want to do more of corporate communication.
Mm,
So I went up that path, and I left the reading of the news, and then I went into corporate communication where I was the PRO for the
yeah.
Data Protection Commission of Ghana. And it
Oh,
was good. It was good. I also, so it was still in the line of communication because I still got to do media stuff
yeah.
as the PRO of the Data Protection Commission. So I was still organizing the media for events. I was still communicating with the media, putting
Mm,
out articles and stuff like that. But yeah, at a point in time, I realized that it was not paying the bills. So I had to explore a different
yeah.
career choice, even though it was
Mm,
in the same path. But tell
yeah.
you what, I also got the opportunity to get married early. And my husband was in the same field, in the same media space, and we
Yeah.
all have that passion for media. So what we did
Yeah.
was to balance, what was going to pay the bills as compared to our passion, and we put
Yeah.
up a business. So our passion is the business, and then
Yeah.
we dived into what was going to pay the bills. So
Yeah.
that is
But I think
how
that's a good.
my path
Yeah.
was. Yes.
No, no. That's. I think that's
And it's
very. I think.
definitely
I
it's
think
definitely
most
true
people.
because
Yeah.
mhm.
Yeah. I think it's. I think it's that
No, go
for a lot of
ahead.
people. I think it's the same for a lot of people. To be honest, I think at some point. But I learned a secret recently, actually. That if you venture into, you search the JDs of the, sorry, job descriptions. Of the different of the field in the fields that you're in, you can actually find something still in your passion that is still paying the bills. It's a trick that I recently learned, and I think that is something that I people should definitely look at. So just still in your field, pick a lot of job descriptions from
Mhm.
like Indeed, like any sort of like job bank. So like in Canada we have like Indeed, we have like policy specific, um sorry, we have industry specific job portals and stuff like that. Just do a
Mm,
massive like career
mm.
search and just pull out all the job descriptions for in the industry that you're in. You'll be surprised to notice that you would actually find something that is in your field that will match your interest, but pays the bills.
Mm.
I think most of the time we limit our scope to a certain way that we think our job should go. But when you do that massive research, you would realize that,
Mhm.
wait, I can actually still be making money in the field that I'm interested in, I'm passionate about, um, but just in a different capacity. So you might just be doing, I don't know, secretarial job for like immigration, for example. But if you are a consultant in immigration, you're getting twice the pay that you were doing as a secretarial person in immigration. So something that I learned, and I'm like, I'm
Mm.
gonna share this for young people who are interested in, like, moving, like, beyond your career because it's not paying the bills. Just something to think about. Yeah.
Mm, mm. But coming into Canada, my interest is also diving into immigration.
Yeah, you should definitely go
I'm
for it.
really looking. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm looking in
it's a
that.
great field.
So, and that
It's a
brings me to so what about those that don't have any passion? Those that are open to anything that comes their way? Those that are just, they are just open for any kind of job
mm,
description that comes their way. How are they supposed to approach their journey towards finding a career path?
I think that can be a problem in itself. Um, I think in this life, if you don't choose things, the things will choose you, and you are not sure what will choose you. So I think you need to identify why you don't necessarily have anything you're particularly intrigued about. It can be a problem of maybe you're not widely read, which is something that you have to look at. It can be that maybe you have limited yourself because in your head maybe just there's just three what's it called, three occupations: lawyer, doctor, and engineer, and I don't fit in any of them. Or it can be a thing of you are not giving yourself enough grace to explore the options that are available. I think for the first group of people, read and read and read and read and read. Honestly, I think, like, you can't, you fall yourself short when you don't read. um because there's a lot out there. Like, there are things that I hear on a daily, and like every time when I tell people that I do immigration in Deloitte, they're like, Deloitte does immigration? Like, Deloitte's an audit firm. And I'm like, yeah, well, they do everything. Like, so I think reading sometimes, like, reading, not sometimes, reading always gives you like a wider scope to be able to, I guess, to be able to double and dive into the things that, and also to identify what you're passionate about. I think second, for the second category of people, um that are very skewed in this is what a career should look like. To be honest, we are in 2024. Like, almost everything's a career. Like, when I look at the influencers, I admire them so much. I'm like, whoa. Honestly, it's not something I would have ever had confidence to do, but I love that even this is a career now. Like, people are in full time influencing and they're making it. And for the third group of people, if you didn't have the privilege to explore, for example, and you've just found yourself in a certain thing and you realize that you don't like it, I think it's two things: either take a bold decision to leave and to start afresh. It's a very difficult thing to do, honestly, and I know it's easier said than done. But I've seen people in this life who have quit their job, gone for what's it called, gone for career boot camps. In these career boot camps, they've given them some coaching, they've um they've edited their resumes and all that, and these people have eventually landed a good job, and they're happy with their lives now. And secondly, if you don't have the opportunity to just, I guess, quit and then start afresh or something, I think you should give yourself grace. Um, Put in, I don't know, like, I guess, be intentional about searching alongside your in your current career. And when I say searching, it means like, if you close at 5, for example, search out, is there an event where I can network with people at 6, between 6 and 7? Or can I message people on LinkedIn for a coffee chat? Or can I look within my network to see if there's anybody that can reference me? And then based on those, try and see if with these opportunities, or even volunteer opportunities, like join NGOs which stand for different things, and through that, see if there's something that tickles your fancy from there. um but I think with finding passions, if you don't, it's a very intentional thing. It's you reading wide, it's you putting in the effort to meet other people, to see what they're doing, to know what they're doing, and try and see where you can double in, and also being practical in things like volunteering to see where your interests somewhat align. But it's a very intentional thing. I don't think you can just like, I don't think it's a good thing to give up on yourself, but I don't think it's a thing to where you can just sit down and the heavens will be open onto you just like that. I think it's a very intentional thing.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, that's my personal opinion. I don't know if you have anything, but
I was I was going to say maybe you should look into doing internships or part-time jobs or volunteer work,
yeah,
to be able to see where that can get you. Where can
yeah,
that where
it's a
that
very
can get you.
intentional
But
thing.
it's
Just
actually very important. I've seen quite a number of people that don't really know what they want, and they are just,
yeah,
open to anything that comes. And I don't think that is a very encouraging thing to do
yeah,
as a
definitely,
young person who wants to
yeah,
be productive. Yeah.
yeah.
Now, let's come to education and training.
Hmm.
So, there are times that I hear students or young people read certain courses, and then you wonder what kind of job they can get out of those courses.
Yeah,
I went, from my experience, I went straight into journalism course. I went to
yeah.
communication. So I would say I was quite open to whatever I wanted to do. But what about those that read very weird courses? What's up with that?
I think I absolutely love those people. Honestly, and I say that like so truthfully, because I think we've shifted from an era where your what you studied in school, for example, is what you're going to do pays as a career. And so I definitely love people who are bold into doing studying something because they love it, or studying something because they are curious about it. Um, because believe you me, like I said, if you are intentional about searching for jobs and just reading job descriptions, it will amaze you the magnitude of things that are out there that you even haven't thought about as a person, like at any stage of your life. And I think that's one of the things that parents should be doing for children at a younger stage. Like just pulling up, oh, okay, you think you're interested in engineering, like go on sites, just like read a couple of things, like, and see what in the engineering spaces people are doing. um I think for me, like I said, I started with business society, then I moved into economics, international development studies, French. Um and I went, and then after post graduation as well, I've done project management. Like now I'm doing like business analysis. I think eventually the beauty about careers now is knowing that you're never stuck in one thing, and learning is a continuous process. And so the more you learn, the more different career paths
Absolutely.
have for you. And so sometimes the very thing that you think is actually weird is the next thing that's going to be a blessing for you, because who really thought that AI was going to be a big thing now? But there's AI in everything now. There's AI in like design, there's AI in law. I like literally I saw one of these like what's it called, Instagram ads about AI and law, and I was like, whoa. Like I've seen AI in like immigration, I've seen AI in like everybody, but AI is applied in everything. But who would really have thought, like a few years ago? But that's the beauty about all these things. 'Cause sometimes I think all those supposedly weird things is what brings up innovation in our recent times. Now I see people hold the camera. I see a lot of like people even without like I guess thinking about influencing, just by recording their life, they're like, you know what? Let me learn editing skills. And now just by uploading videos, they're making money, for example. And then they realize that, okay, I can learn something else and learn the skill, learn that, learn this, learn that. If I tell you the things that I've done in this, like, look, I've been a carpenter at some point. Like, like I literally didn't even think that I could. But when I started events and I realized that, you know what, maybe I should go back. I literally have a toolkit of like saw and like carpentry tape. Like, I think sometimes when I even go on set and people be looking at me like, Antele. And I'm like, yeah, like you just learn everything. You like you learn how to use a nail and you learn how to use a hammer, and tomorrow you're learning something else. So I think that sometimes there's so much beauty in just understanding that learning is a process, and so you can but one thing that I'll say for sure, make sure that you're learning in a direction that makes sense at the end of the day, because you don't want to be everywhere, jack of all trades and master of none, because that's where you start realizing that, okay, now I'm not
Yeah.
making money from anything, for example, and I'm struggling. So if you know that you're getting certification, get certification
Mm.
like in a certain somewhat direction, and make sure that, or if you need help realizing where the two things match, seek counsel, seek wisdom from people who have, are in 25 years of their career, and see how you can merge those things. One of my friends is a designer and she likes the law, and now she's realizing that, you know what, I can actually merge those two, because there's a space for in law that deals with copyrights and stuff for people in the artistic fields. But in her head before, she thought that, oh, me being a designer and in on Canva and like, putting together videos and all those things, where does that match with the law? Like they seem like two different nuances. Like, but it's like, no, they can actually merge at some
Yeah.
point. So I think definitely allow yourself to learn and explore and be curious, but at least make sure that it's somewhat merging in a certain direction to some extent, so that you can still afford to pay the bills, but also be, living your happy life. Yeah, for sure. But
Mm.
was there any certifications and stuff that you did
When it comes to
when you were trying to switch? Were
oh
you doing any
certifications, yes, I had
certifications?
to. So diploma in journalism, and then I
Okay.
went into public relations, a degree for public
Mm,
relations side.
okay.
And then I
Yeah.
continued to do some certifications for my data protection job that I got. So I did the professional course in becoming a certified data protection practitioner. So I was
Wow.
practicing data protection whilst at the commission, give training
Wow.
to organizations on what it means to protect the data of clients and
Mm,
all of that. So I definitely had to do some
yeah.
certification, and I need to do more. I still need to
Yeah.
do more.
Yeah. You
You
always
never
do.
stop learning. You never
Yeah.
stop learning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
But then some young adults say that they also enjoy getting professional help, consulting professionals, having like
Sure.
mentoring sessions with job coaching and those kind of things. Are those things really effective?
Yeah, I think for sure.
Did you
I think
ever
those things are.
have a mentor or a coaching, make that decision?
Yeah, yeah. I think definitely coaching has helped me in a long way. I think that it's very easy, first of all, to be demotivated at some point, and not be accountable. And coaching helps you to be accountable. One, coaching helps you to also think beyond your current. Um, for example, I have a 5 year plan, I have a 10-year plan. But every now and then, my coach sends me back to help me to see if I'm actually matching, hitting these goals. Also, my coach is very intentional about um, helping me climb my professional ladder, because she's climbed it herself, seen some of the things that have worked, seen some of the things that haven't, and is very intentional about helping me not to make the same mistakes. I'm a very firm believer of, if there's a blueprint, don't try reinventing one yourself. And it has really helped me, because what a lot of people do is, striving to make it themselves, and which is a good thing to, strive, but where there's a blueprint, I think just try as much as possible to just follow it. Obviously, it's not a thing about copying. You're a unique person, and so the more as you use the blueprint, you realize that you start to, mold it into who you are some way, somewhat. But I think definitely coaches are really, really beneficial. At least to me, they have been. If I ever didn't see the relevance of the coach, it was probably because the coach wasn't my like good for me, because I'm a very ambitious person, and so sometimes I feel like when I speak to people, like I know that this person can be my coach because they don't move at the same they don't have the same I guess go for it what's it called, they call the go getter spirit, yes, go getter spirit that I have. And so I think that it's definitely coaching has definitely helped me one to be accountable, and it's also helped me to think outside the box that I have created, and also it has helped me to have a blueprint which has definitely been beneficial to helping me climb up my um career ladder. I don't know for you, but I think yeah, for me it really has. How about you? Do you feel like
That
have you had a
I
coach?
haven't really had any career coach, but maybe because it was really direct for me. But I mean, I like to hear people and people in their journeys and what they go through, what they learn, and
Yeah,
use whatever that can be taken out as a lesson for me in the path that I am in.
yeah,
But yeah, I think that wrapping up on this conversation, basically, it's important that you do your self assessment and you put into consideration a lot of things that will fulfill you, will help
hmm,
you to pay your bills, and at the
yeah,
same time will keep you on the path of self learning, self growth, to become a professional and become somebody that is productive.
yeah,
I think that is what is most important. Listeners, we've been discussing finding a career choice. We've put out all the points that, we could think of, coming in from experience, coming in from what we have read, what we have seen happening in our various journeys. We don't know about you. If you have anything to, comment on, you can always leave us a message. And on our next episodes, we will definitely read it out and let your voice be heard. Wrapping up, Michelle, let me give you like few minutes to just wrap up and say something to end this conversation on finding a career choice.
definitely. Thank you for that. I think for me, I would say that finding a career is a process thing. You can either be the person who knows from birth that this is what you want to do, or the person who loves everything, or the person who has no idea what they want to do. Whether you are in whatever category you're in, it's a process. And so give yourself grace to figure out what you're interested in. When you figure it out, just know that you have to keep learning to improve yourself. Whether it's through educational courses, whether it's through a career mentor or a coach, whether it's through extensive reading, and also be intentional about understanding the job markets that you're in as well, because that will definitely influence your merging your passions versus practicality. And finally, don't forget the secret that I just read and just discovered. Pick all the job descriptions and read around it and see where you can see what you can improve, see what interests you, see what skills that you need to improve on, and then see how you can progress within the same industry you're in that you're passionate about, but even make tons of money. That's what I think I'm gonna leave the listeners with.
Thank you so much, beautiful Michelle, for joining us on the Voices of the Millennials. And to
My
you out
pleasure.
there, do stay tuned to our next episode where we will continue to explore issues that matters to you and matters the most to our generation. Remember that until then, your voice matters, your journey is important, and together we can build an amazing, productive future where we can all be happy. This is your host, Annamaria Amissah, signing out. Until then, be well.